Alright, many people don't know much about the Queen's Blade series or the games, so let's start from the top, literally. The story of Queen's Blade started with the Hobby Japan's visual combat books, first published in 2005, so just in case you're wondering, the series isn't that old, and a manga was made for it in 2007, explaining more of the nitty-gritty details of the story, which some at first look would think it's just a Gunner story, which more or less it is. But the word Gunner isn't a slur, it's a sign that you're cultured, and sometimes men just want to see women with big boobs fight. Tis simply biology, and even though this series may seem like a Gunner series, it was famous enough to get its own anime in 2009 called Queen's Blade: The Exiled Virgin, and many other series of animes and games. So whether you're a Gunner or not, this series' fame speaks for itself. But since it's an older series, many people may remember some of the more iconic characters, whether that's through games or simply searching the dark web, but they may not necessarily remember the overall plot. So let's dive balls deep into that hole for a second. Now, while the characters of this series are what you would call thick, the overall plot is rather based and easy to follow, and it starts basically with a tournament being held every 4 years to determine the queen, and only young women who are considered beautiful in their hometown are allowed to enter. And the story has multiple beautiful female characters that are all very different. But the overall main character, at least for the anime, is Lena Vance, who is a runaway noble heiress and a warrior. Now, every one of these female characters have their own reasons why they're in the tournament, but not all of them want to be queen. And if you read enough about all the female characters like I have, you may start to realize that their own personal stories may be a little bit deeper than the actual main plot of the whole story, which is exactly why I call every individual character thick. I didn't just mean in body, oh no, but also in plot. And now that you somewhat understand this plot, it's time to once again ask the big questions. Which Queen's Blade character is the best and most iconic waifu? Let's find out. First one up, Catala, the milk. Oh, no, that's not it. The MILF. Well, both descriptions are accurate. This woman's bust size is described as the largest in the whole franchise. But she's not only a bag of milk and Oreos. Oh no, she's a bag of milk and Oreos with a son and a husband. Oh! Ew! Yeah, she's married with a kid, which is a con. However, her husband Owen is missing, which is why she decided to join the tournament in the first place to look for him. Unfortunately though, her biggest con is her son, named Rana, or how I pronounce it, little shit. Man, them kids. Yeah! Oh yeah, but wait, not literally though. Don't take that out of context, y'all know what we mean. Rana wouldn't be a big issue if he simply could stay away from his mom, even for a second. She brings him into battles. Now why is this? Because Rana doesn't want to lose his mom like he lost his dad. But if I was him, I wouldn't worry about that because a woman who looks like this is realistically going to have some replacement set up for her. Someone is knocking on her door to deliver the milk. A pro for this woman is that she's described as being kind, gentle, and motherly, and also extremely voluptuous and muscular. She's also a skilled swordswoman with extensive adventuring experience. She wields weapons like spears and her main weapon, Giant Killer, which is a heavy blade from her adventures, with great ease and mastery. And she's even a master weaponsmith. She's able to forge and repair weapons. And she can fight with all these weapons, like Guts fights with his main weapon in Berserk. Basically, she's a beast. And she'll be almost perfect if it wasn't for her son. Not only does he hold her back from fighting to her fullest potential, but she usually also fights while carrying him in her arms. And this obviously leaves her at a disadvantage. And instead of putting him down while she fights, she states that they will die as one. Now why would she want her son to die with her? I don't know. Seems to me her son needs to grow a pair and let his mom catch bodies, violently and sexually, so she can get stronger. Seriously, those tickle biggies may be strong, but they need rest. And I'm here for that, respectfully. Now, at the end of her storyline, she does eventually find her husband. He's alive, somehow, yippee, and her, Owen, and Rana eventually go back to their village to live out the rest of their lives. Night, we both know that Owen is hitting that every night. God damn it! It should have been me! Next one up, Bronwyn. Her plot is also very thick. But even she has her pros and cons. Now, first off, a pro for her is that she's a gladiator. That's cool, right? Unfortunately though, she's a gladiator slave. And to make it even worse, her slave master is a goblin named Dagora. Now if you have even a lick of sense, you know where this is going. Now to be more clear, Bronwyn is a dragon descendant, and she's also known as one of the holy dragon warriors, which are people known for serving dragons in ancient times. So because of more or less her bloodline, Bronwyn is very strong. In fact, the more excited she gets, the stronger her attacks become. Unfortunately though, because Dagora has her kin in some type of containment facility, she has to fight for them to make sure they don't die. More or less, if Dagora does not send word to this containment facility, to not kill them even for a day, then Bronwyn's kin in that facility will immediately be killed. And because Bronwyn is a gladiator's slave, she is forced to fight day after day with no mercy. And the Goro also has extra methods to make sure she does exactly what he wants. He basically has a control method that involves electric cords being attached to sensitive parts of a person's body, which can create high amounts of pain. But for subjects that are deemed too dangerous to be left with this method, the electric method is then combined with a magical spell that enables a subject to be freed after achieving a certain requirement, which in Bronwyn's case is winning battles. But how this spell works is a bit tragic. Basically, if Bronwyn wins a battle, one link from the spell vanishes, but if she loses, one more link appears, and the Goro only intends to release her when all the chain links are gone. So in other words, she literally can't lose, and her main purpose for being in the Queen's Blade tournament in the first place is simply for liberation, which she apparently has not achieved yet in the story. Tragic, but not tragic enough for me to care. Next one! Akidna! Yeah! Not that Akidna, this one. Akidna in this series is over 500 years old and a freelance mercenary. And yes, her plot also is very thick. Her race of people is called a wild elf, and two cons are she likes snakes and she likes flirting with women.
Nigga, you gay.
Her sexuality is left up for debate. But after further research, I realized a lot of her biggest cons involve her being a pervert and sadistic. She tends to invade the privacy of those she likes, and she tends to like to people and subject them to humiliation. And from what I read, it's mostly females, but it can be males too. So she's like Menace, but 100 times worse. But it doesn't matter because she's hot and a woman, so no one will care. And another con is she's two-faced. One side of her is cruel, and the other side of her is kind with a heart of gold. So it's safe to say that she is a crazy ass bitch. Now before she was a mercenary, she was an assassin, and currently in her storyline, she's considered to be strong enough to win the tournament, but she is not interested in being queen. She seems to more or less like being a mercenary and a mentor, and from what I read, she mentored Lena Vance, the main character of the story, and a human female named Irma. Oh, and I forgot to mention, she loves to sleep in the nude. Oh my god! So tell me in the comments if you would judge Akidna as hard as you judge Menace from My Hero Academia or Sanji from One Piece. Are all perverts bad or just the ones you don't find attractive? Moving on! Next one up is Rristy, the bandit leader. A pro for her is that she is considered a thief with a heart of gold, who steals from the rich and works as a mercenary to amass money, redirecting those funds towards food and shelter for orphans of war. So yes, viewers, me and you would think of the same thing. Rristy is more or less just Robin Hood, with boobs! Yes! Also, another pro for her is that she loves meat. yeah, giggity. But she also loves alcohol, which means that breath probably stinks. And she hates being called a monkey.
Hello, monkeys.
As a black guy, I can relate to that. Now, two more pros for her is that she bathes in tubs and hot springs, which means she likely smells wonderful. She probably got that Bath and Body Works smell. And her reason for participating in the Queen's Blade tournament is to become the next queen and ban all corruption and build a country where everybody is happy, which is honestly a better reason than many of the other characters in the series, which makes her my #1 pick, in my opinion. But my opinion here means nothing, and monkeys can't be queens. So moving on! The next one up is Malona, the female slime. Now this character is iconic in more ways than one. First off, her occupation is that she's an aide to the Swamp Witch, which is one of the antagonists in Queen's Blade. And for this witch, she collects intel and does assassinations. And one of her cons is she loves playing pranks on people. So if she was real, she'd be a prank YouTuber. And I despise, I'm telling you, I despise prank YouTubers. Being annoying and harmful to others isn't a prank. It just shows the content creator's lack of creativity and overall intelligence. But now a huge pro for her is her bust size is determined on a whim. Because she is a slime, she's also a shapeshifter, which means those things can grow as big as she wants them to. However, unlike most other slimes in other series, her bio officially classifies her as female. And just to add to her boob pro, her tickle biggies are low-key weapons, or more or less her quote-unquote milk. She can deploy her milk from her body utilizing her slime arms, the ones covering her chest. Now how it works is her tickle biggies first expand, and then she literally fires her milk from squeezing them. And when it sprays and hit her opponents, it acts as a fast-acting corrosive agent, able to burn through clothing and other non-organic matter, such as weapons and buildings. And it's also used by her to disorient and humiliate opponents. But I must note that it doesn't burn organic material. But when fired in bullet-like bursts, they can serve as high-velocity explosives. And in Queen's Blade Rebellion, it is revealed that her milk contains regenerative properties. Now that is a great pro, but one con is, She dislikes being called a monster, and if you call her a monster, she'll react with hostility and try to kill you. And bullets, fists, and swords don't really work on slimes, so you will be cooked. Another pro is that she's very seductive and alluring. She's probably one of the most loved and sexiest characters in this series, and this is because of obviously her unique look and characteristics. And before I forget, her last pro is that her body is soft and moist and jiggly, but can be immediately hardened when necessary to aid in attack or defense. And I forgot to mention that she can literally turn into any of the other waifus on this list. So yeah, low-key, this may be the real number one. Not even gonna lie. Now, her reason for being in the Queen's Blade tournament is basically because her master, the Swamp Witch, told her to be there and cause chaos and confusion while she's there. So low-key, even though she's hot and almost perfect, don't forget that she is kinda evil! Alright, the next one up is Menace. Now, Menace is classified as being an undead that was resurrected by no other than the Swamp Witch, and she resurrected her to use her for her schemes. Now, in Menace's past, she was a princess of the Amara Kingdom, and apparently her kingdom was very Egyptian coded, because wow, why else dressed like that unless you're making OnlyFans, making me all hot and sweaty. What? Anyways, in her past, she was a princess of this kingdom, but when she was betrayed and killed, she was resurrected over 4,000 years later in the current time, making her at least over 4,000 years old. Unfortunately for her, by the time she was resurrected, her kingdom has been in ruins for thousands of years. And at this point in the story, her only real goal is to restore her lost kingdom, which she does eventually end up doing by the end of the series. Now, it's a small kingdom of only 98 people, but I mean, baby steps. I don't have a kingdom, so I can't judge. I can only hate from afar. Bitch. Now, one pro for her is she loves oil massages, and some of you may not understand how that's a pro, but trust me, that's a pro. And another pro for her is, once she revived her old kingdom, she became the queen of that kingdom. So she has power now! Well, maybe political power, but other than that, she has her sorceress powers, which appears to be some type of necromancy, because she can resurrect people and force them to do her bidding by turning them into servants with evil spirits she summons. Which sounds kind of evil. Also, another con is her scepter, named Cetra. Basically, it's kind of a pervert, and it's definitely slept with her before. No, I can't prove it, but I knows it! So anyway, another pro is that she has a gentle nature, and she's a master of martial arts passed down by her royal family. Unfortunately though, a con is her punches emit a cursed aura that can drain her opponent's life with a single touch. So in other words, yes, she can easily kill you. So is it worth it? If you're strong enough. Alright, last one up, and the main character of the series, Lena Vance. Surprisingly enough, she actually won this tournament. Damn it! Well, there goes Rent. He didn't read the series, he thought it was gonna be the slime, and now he owed me 500. Alright. Now, like I said before, Lena Vance is a warrior and the middle daughter of the Vance family, and she runs away from this family to follow her mother's footsteps to become a warrior, and to make her own way in hopes of becoming stronger by entering the Queen's Blade tournament. Now, she loves to test her strength against powerful opponents and help powerless people in need. So she has a very heroic character, obviously. Unfortunately though, having a lot of bravery and basically no armor and only a sword leads to some difficult situations, like her getting her butt kicked in almost every fight. It also leads to her wetting herself because yes, sometimes her opponents overwhelm her and scare her that badly, which in my opinion she deserves. The one pro is her breastplate provides protection and immunity to certain demonic attacks, and it even has magical defensive properties preventing her exposure if she sustains damage in battle, and it's even durable enough to resist Malona's milk. But come on, seriously! I know the whole skimpy armor thing is supposed to be sexy, but a female wearing full-plated armor who actually knows what she's doing and looks like she knows what she's doing is, in my opinion, even sexier. Anyways, another con for her is she is cursed by the Swamp Witch. The Swamp Witch basically cursed her with narcolepsy, which in reality is a condition when the brain struggles to control the sleep-wake cycles, causing overwhelming daytime sleepiness, sudden sleep attacks, and intrusion of REM sleep into wakefulness. More or less, it makes her have to go to sleep for a very long time, and specifically because of this curse, she has to sleep for 16 hours a day, and she suffers from intense drowsiness even in mid-battle. Now, more or less, she does still win the Queen's Blade tournament, but instead of becoming queen, she forfeits the title and gives it to her older sister, Claudette, who then becomes the official queen, while Lena chooses the warrior's way. That girl's all kinds of stupid. Anyways, viewers, tell us which waifu you think is the best on this list, and were there other characters you thought I should have added to this list as well? If so, tell me in the comments, and I'll likely make a part 2, explaining the pros and cons of those characters. Now get typing, and you guys have a great day. Bye! I'm broke now! You were broke before! $500 ain't shit! Damn!